So, welcome, Perennial Pride listeners. I'm super excited to have my special guest, and I can easily call her a close friend of mine. She's been so helpful to me, and I've really gotten to know her real well. Tammi Brannan, who's the founder of the Blueprint Process. She's coach of mine, mentor, and like I said, a friend of mine. And I think you're going to get tremendous value out of our conversation today. And, a lot of this podcast was thought of because I've been reflecting on a lot of things in life. And oftentimes I'm coming across people and you read some of these stats that, a lot of people are just not satisfied with their jobs, their lives. They're kind of just going through life and having external things drive them to do things that maybe are not congruent to themselves or what fills them. And, this is where the likes of Tammi and others are helping other clients in this world find that. I thought would be really powerful to bring to you guys today. So, Tammi, I really appreciate Tammi Brannan. Appreciate you joining me today, and really excited for this conversation.
Me too. I am too. You know me, I love this conversation around what is your purpose and the fact that you are here at this point in our history to do something of value. And I agree with you. I hear it a lot. I don't know if it's COVID or what it was, but it's like this great reset that our country is going through, which I am so appreciative of. Instead of just going through the motions and doing what you're supposed to do and getting a paycheck, people are starting to question, what does my life mean? And do I like where it's going?
Yeah, and I hear it often from back to certainly personal to me around impact and trying to make a difference. I think we're all sort of set on this earth to do something unique and special. Sometimes you don't know what that is until you
Yeah.
go exploring and really some soul searching, which is a lot of what you help me do in my own sort of life and practice, and but something that I think a lot of people can really benefit from. So, but tell me, I am curious, and you went on your own journey with a lot of this stuff and to create your practice. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, this was back in 2006. I was actually in a very similar place to you. I was in a career that I was well paid. It was a secure career. And it was almost like I woke up one day. My family and we went on a cruise up the interior passage of Alaska. And there's something about those majestic mountains and blue glaciers, just amazing land out there that almost like reset my brain. And I came home. I vividly, Tom, remember walking off that plank, whatever you get when you're on the ship and you're getting on and off, whatever they call that thing. I was walking off of that and I'd had such a reset out there in the wilds of Alaska that I didn't want to go home. And that was a really weird feeling for me. It was a huge wake up call. And so I spent the next 6 to 10 months studying what the heck is happening here. Why am I so dissatisfied with my life? Because I literally 7 days prior, as we were leaving for the trip, I was fine with my life, right? I went through in the following 6 months these crazy visions of me running away from my life, even from my family. And it had nothing to do with my family, by the way. It was more just my life, my job in particular wasn't fitting me.
Mm.
I felt like a misfit. And so I went through that process of trying to discover why. What is a misfit for me? Why is this not working? In the process, Tom, I discovered things that are innate about me that weren't being used. So when it comes to this question of, am I creating value in my life? What is my purpose? Why am I here? I feel it is imperative, just like in my situation, to go through a study process, just like what you did. What is within me inherently, as I refer to it, what is in my blueprint that is uniquely designed to help me create value in a way that nobody else can, and for a group of people that nobody else can serve.
It's just amazing, and when I went through that process and it was uncomfortable, right? We think about trying to examine ourselves, and we were always looking external, looking for clues on where we should go, what we should do. And the answers are inside, right? Internal, not
Yeah.
external. And that was a little scary to look at because, we're all imperfect beings, right? There's good things I love about myself, but I know there's things that I said, oh, God, I just don't want to look at that. But it's who I am.
Yeah.
And we're all beautiful in our own unique way. And it's really took some time and certainly with a lot of your help to examine that and understand what is it that I truly valued and why I did the things I did or I'm doing.
Yep.
And it was really eye opening to come to that level of understanding and, even some of that self love for myself, like, and really reflecting on like, I'm always been hard on myself. So I know a lot of people go through that. I hear that all the time. Try and do so much for themselves or families and what society tells them, but are you serving yourself? Are you doing the things that give you fulfillment and love for yourself and your family? So it's a really great experience.
Uh, Thank you for saying that. I love how you said, I can't remember if you used scary as the descriptor, terrifying. I'm not sure all of those are accurate because I think the reason, and I hear this from clients as they're beginning the program, they're concerned, very, very concerned that they're not sure they want to know what's inside. And because their life to date doesn't really point out phenomenal stuff, and yet they want their life to be phenomenal. So they don't have a lot of faith that if by looking within, they can find phenomenal without, because they don't think they're going to find phenomenal within. I know, no matter what, that I'm going to find phenomenal within. I've been doing this, like I say, since 2006, and I have yet to run across someone who isn't phenomenal. And I love finding out how each person is phenomenal. And then that does what you're talking about. It directs now your focus. Now you know what you have. So you use it with intention and you create that phenomenal life that you've been sensing, but just not sure how to get to.
Yeah. And I always think of purpose and you hear from, you know, businesses have purposes, right? These purpose statements that nobody remembers, right? And they talk about them. Somebody sat in a room and, they're sitting somewhere in some boardroom somewhere maybe, but, it doesn't stick with you in terms of any meaning, right? No one could repeat it. And,
Right.
Going through that process and learning about purpose has nothing to do with my job or, what I sell or however it is, but it could apply to anything. It's just life. Right? What is
Yes.
that purpose? And drives you to kind of say, you know what, we do have significant meaning on this earth. We just have to find what that is,
Yep.
and and trust the fact that we were designed to fulfill it,
Yep.
right? And go searching, and that takes some energy, right? Because people are jobs. I talk to many people who and maybe listening here, like in successful jobs, doing what society says is great
Yes.
and absolutely nothing wrong with it, but you gotta look internal and say, there's some inkling that things are not the way you want it to be.
Yeah.
You gotta scratch that itch, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, years, years, decades go by.
Yep.
And it maybe never reach your potential nor fulfillment in life. And that's a tragedy.
I totally agree. Thank you for saying that because you're absolutely right that the feeling does not go away. You cannot ignore it. Well, you can, but it's going to stay there. And what I noticed with myself, because I didn't scratch that itch, is it became more and more insistent. Whereas when I was on that boat in Alaska, it was like a 2x4 whack upside the head because I'd not been paying attention to it. I didn't scratch the itch. I just kept ignoring it. So you're absolutely right. Your potential is calling to you. If what we're saying is true, and each of you are here on this earth at this time in our world's history to create a unique impact, impact needs to be made, has to be made, and it's calling on you. And if you're not fully realizing it, if you're not doing as much as you can in your current situation to fulfill it, it will continue to pull on you until you do.
Yeah. And going through this process for myself and certainly building my financial practice, and this is what I joked with you before, Tammy, around some of this stuff. Like it took me to get into this business to realize the importance of money
Mhm.
and how it supports my life. And that it was something that I was constantly chasing for what I don't know, just chasing.
Yeah.
but recognizing where it fits in my world and saying, well, what level of abundance do I not have in other areas of my life too,
Mm,
right? Broadly, and
right.
how the wealth helps support it. So it isn't what I'm chasing, it's what it could help do for you so you can impact the things that matter to you, whether it's family, a charity, or just anything that sort of brings you passion and energy to then direct those resources to help you do it. That's a much better approach in my mind. It's helped me sort of ground myself around what I get to do every day.
I think that is so important. So basically, what you're saying is you have found purpose in what you do. And so you're not just about selling whole life. You're about your purpose. And you're about your purpose with work, clients, family, everywhere, in every aspect of your life. And that's really what the whole point of your podcasts are about. Your podcasts are not about how can you save more money or make more money or build a whole life policy. It's not about that. It's about your purpose. And you and I know your purpose is a rather in-depth, complex thing. And so for those of you listening, if this is your first time to the Perennial Pride podcast, you can know that his podcast, Tom's podcast, is not about whole life. I mean, he'll talk about it, but always in the larger context of his purpose. And he makes sure that every one of these podcasts create value for you, whether you use whole life or not as a tool in your own wealth building.
And that is absolutely true. And I thank you for that, Tammy, because the hope for a lot of these podcasts is just to give you some starting point inspirations to say if there's a need out there or something that maybe isn't quite at the level you want in your life, you have the power to do something about it.
That's right.
These educational episodes hopefully give you some starting points to kind of explore. But it will be in the end, each of us are all sort of eras of our lives to take hold of it and do something about it. And then seek the help. Like obviously I wouldn't got help from Tammy to help me through it, but I have to take it and say, this is meaningful for me.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to, and this kind of segues into a different area topic around the thing that inspires me a lot is say, I don't want to leave this earth, which we unfortunately will all leave at some point physically, with regrets of things in our lives we didn't get to do or try. And that, although maybe seems negative, helps me to do stuff, right?
That's right.
To take action. And I hope to never say that. And I think for most people, I think they would want to say that.
Yeah.
I can walk off the face of this earth saying, I did all the things I wanted to do and I was put on this earth to do. But you got to start. Right.
Yeah.
So Tammy, I mean, obviously you have a lot of tools, resources and such. Like, what can we share with our listeners? Maybe a thing or two to think about or ask themselves to really get started down this journey. They're looking to say, what the heck is my purpose in life?
Yeah.
Question.
It is a great question. It actually kind of segues off of something that you were just saying. And that is that by whatever you believe in, I'll refer to it as God, but whatever you believe in that designed your blueprint, he was genius because he created your blueprint. He created your purpose so that you would actually want to do it. I grew up on a farm and my dad would always kind of joke with us that he was going to take the cattle prod and use it on us to get us to do things. And if you don't know what a cattle prod is, it basically delivers an electric shock to the poor animal. And I don't even think they're in existence anymore. I hope not. Anyway, my dad would always joke around with us that he was going to use the cattle prod. Well, God, or whoever you believe designed you, doesn't want to have to do that with us. And so your purpose is actually something you want to do. And so what I did is I was trying to figure out why my life didn't fit me. I looked at what brought me energy, what I was curious about, fascinated by, and what drained my energy. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a great first indicator to at least play around with. So something that I do all the time on a sheet of paper, and you can just carry this sheet of paper around with you everywhere. As Tom suggested, purpose is 24/7. It's not just at work. It's everywhere. So I would carry a sheet of paper around me with basically a T chart where you're making two columns. And on the left-hand side, you can put a big minus sign for this is a battery drain. And then on the right-hand side, put a big positive sign as this is a battery charge. And everything, and don't worry over much if you forget, like, for a whole day to do this. It doesn't matter. Just keep doing it until you start to see a pattern. And that pattern will suggest certain changes you can make. And they don't have to be massive changes. Both Tom and I chose over the course of our study to leave our jobs. Both of us have. And to start a business. Both of us did that. You don't have to do that. You actually might find purpose in your job where you currently are in your career. Absolutely. Just again, look for what charges me and what drains me. And one of the changes that this list might make to you is, maybe, let's say you're an employee and you're working for someone else. Maybe it will suggest to you that you go to your boss and you negotiate a different job structure. So you do more of certain tasks and less of others. And it may take some time, but I guarantee you, just doing this list and identifying that there are things out there and people out there that cause your energy to charge, that's almost all you need to do, because your brain, I refer to it as, you've got that reticular activating system in your brain. Once you know that, trust me, that reticular activating system in your brain, it wants to be energized. And so it will help you just subtly, slowly over time, start shifting like a plant towards the sun. It'll start to shift you towards the battery charging and away from the battery draining. And in that way, you will slowly be walking towards your purpose. And things will start to change around you. Tom noticed this, actually. Promotions at work, increase in pay, new people coming to the foreground that are like, I didn't see you correctly before. I'm seeing you better now. Would you do this for me? And slowly over time, you'll discover that, yeah, I like my life so much better now. And when you do, that's indicative that you're following your purpose.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. And I think what I have found too, and Tim, I don't know if you see this as well. I mean, obviously, I've tried to stay positive. I'm a genuinely positive guy, but we all have bad days, bad moments. Things happen, negatively in our lives, and some days we're doing things that maybe are not energizing. But I always often find, when I reflect on kind of my why, what we're doing, and I know this maybe seems cliche, but helps me to kind of get through things a little bit more and see there's some positive aspects of it. And maybe, to your point, highlights to you, this is something I need to change, right? I cannot do this anymore, or shouldn't do it anymore. And, the purpose really helps you to sort of reframe and remind you, like, what are we doing this for? Right.
Yep.
And it's always helpful for me. It has been very helpful for me, but what has your experience been with this?
That's such a great point. I love what you just said. It's an interesting paradigm or assumption that we have, that when we're on purpose, we're going to love everything about our lives. And I actually just kind of alluded to it. And I will say that I am so much more positive and fulfilled today than I was way back coming off of that cruise ship. I feel like I own my life, and it's a really good, secure, and inspired feeling. Like, I feel like I'm on the right track. So that's so cool. And it's very, very empowering. But yes, we still have crappy stuff happen to us. I know your dog recently was hurt. And, of course, that brings a lot of emotion, something like that happening or whatever. But I noticed for myself, just like you indicated, that when I am not content about something out there is not happening the way I want it to happen for whatever reason, if I can go back to my blueprint, back to my purpose, and recognize that even within this yucky circumstance, I can still be me, I can still bring value, that immediately makes me feel better. It's like taking broccoli and putting butter and salt on it. It just makes it better. So we still have those broccoli moments in our lives, but knowing, as you indicated, your blueprint, your purpose, your reason for being here, it not only makes that thing more bearable, but it actually helps you bring value in a situation where you actually might have been more like this. You can be more like superhero cape flying behind you, bringing value to the darkness. I mean, if you think about it, if we're each points of light and we each have a reason for being here, then, and we all want to make impact, well, that means that there's crud. That means there's darkness. If we're truly to make an impact, we got to go into the darkness.
Yeah.
And it may be scary, it may be daunting, confusing, whatever, but we're that superhero with the cape. You know, superheroes, they face some yucky stuff. We will too.
That's absolutely right. That's all right. And it they homage to my wife who's a vegan. I do love broccoli, so I don't need to spice it up. But on that note, I hear you, and it is that superpower standing there, and what's that concept like being anti-fragile, right? Anti-fragile, like we're going to face bad things, right?
Yep.
Life will throw tons of things at us as we've seen and we know will happen. And something we can't control, but how can we sort of brace ourselves and, more importantly, come out stronger with it, right? That's really the heart of it, kind of a champion out of anything like that. I'm a sports guy. So I think of those things like you're going to go through some pain, but if you're able to keep the right mindset and understand why we're doing any of these things, hopefully it gets you through those difficult times.
Yeah.
So, come out better on the other side, hopefully.
The whole point about the champion in a game, the champion is less of a champion if it's an easy game. In fact, no one on the team really stands out when it's an easy win. When the opponent is really, really challenging, that's when you see the medal. That's when you see the stars. That's when they really shine and save the day. We can't save the day if the day's already good without us. So yeah, this whole superhero thing and being, what did you say, unfragile?
Yeah, anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile. That's really, really cool because then that means because I'm anti-fragile and that's what your purpose, that knowledge of your purpose. I really appreciate you said that because the knowledge of your blueprint, the knowledge of your purpose, the knowledge of why you're here brings the state of anti-fragile. It enables you to feel that way no matter what. And so then again, when you're walking into those nasty situations, the darkness, you're not going like this, trying to protect yourself because you don't feel like you need to protect yourself. You feel like you already have that armor, that body armor of your purpose. So now, because your whole brain's not focused on protecting yourself, you can shift it. Instead of thinking of self, you can think of others.
Yes.
And that's when you really shine. It's because you're not thinking of yourself anymore. And honestly, Tom, that's what your tool, whole life, does for people, I think. It's actually what I used. I don't know if you know this, but when I started the blueprint process in 2006, I was a single mom. My kids were 7 and 10, and finances were. But because I had a whole life policy, I was able to borrow against it to supplement the little bit that I was making through the blueprint process. And we were able to make it through. I was able to pay my expenses, able to keep clothes on the kids, food on the table. It was tight and scary from time to time. But if it hadn't been for that whole life policy, I would have had to have gotten a job, which I don't know how I would have done a job, be a single parent, and try to build my business. So that whole life policy enabled me to build my business. In a way, you mentioned this earlier. You learned by getting into this business the value of money and that it wasn't something that money is not the objective you're after, but having it enables you to do amazing things. It's a little bit of the superhero cape. By knowing that that's taken care of, it enabled me to stay strong and persevere through the lean times to when the business was able to afford what we needed. So I really appreciate what you are doing because more people need to know that there's something else out there that they can rely on other than their stated income to be able to prepare for their future and enable them to be superheroes in their own lives.
Oh my God, that's so good. We got to, create a commercial with that one. And- But to your point, yeah, and that's usually what I say with most people. It's, you get all the nooks and crannies of full life insurance, but I can stand here today and tell you that if something unfortunate were to happen to me, I know my family is fine and they'll have the resources to fulfill their potentials in life and make the impact that they were destined to do. And that to me is at the heart of why I love it. And it gives me that sort of power and control. And to your point, standing there like Superman and recognizing that we've created that shield and giving them some resources to do anything they want in this world, right? That they are destined to do. So it's a really powerful and heartwarming feeling. Sometimes I get a little emotional about those things, but that's what happens when you kind of find your purpose, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I know because I got the honor of studying your blueprint that this isn't just the cause that you have for your own family. This is why you got into this business because you want to do that for other people. Can you kind of restate that as your cause for being in this business and what you want to do for your clients that you've done for yourself and your family?
Yeah, I have discovered through, processes that my sort of passion and sort of drive is to help people make an impact that will last, ripple through generations to come. Whatever it is that they're doing in their lives that they are called to do, that they have the ability to do it and the resources to do it. And so it can make that sort of impact that will just kind of flow through lives, their communities, their generations to come. And that's what drives me. And it just so happens that to doing this through my financial practice, right? So I'm helping people to do that, to find ways that they can leverage their resources so they can create a business they always want to do or support their kids the way that they want to make the impact for them and their families. And that's what drives me. And it constantly reminds me of why I do it. And it's great. I love it.
So powerful because then when you face the inevitable challenges that businesses face, especially in their first 3 to 5 years or whatever, you've got this powerful why behind what you do. So you're willing to keep going because it's more important to you than making money. It's the impact you're here to make and you want to make it.
I thank you for that. Listen, I owe so much to you, Tammy. I appreciate all your wisdom and support over the years. And I know you provided some really great advice and sort of insights for listeners. Any last parting shots on your end as we close this episode?
Yes. I would, if nothing else, know, this is to everyone, know that you are here on purpose. It's tempting to believe that we're just flesh bags created by our mom and dad. But in reality, no, you were designed way, 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 way back to create value right here at this time in our world's history for a certain group of people. So just know that if nothing else, go forward today knowing that not only were you created to achieve a purpose, but you have everything within you to do so.
Oh my goodness. Take that one. That's a great ending to this. And thank you again, Tammy. And, appreciate your time, your spirit, your heart, and your wisdom. And thanks again and definitely be chatting soon.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being with us here today on the Perennial Pride podcast. It's an honor to be a small part of your journey to financial freedom. If you gained new insight on today's episode, please follow us on your favorite podcast app, such as Apple or Spotify, and follow us on our YouTube and Facebook pages. Also, we always love feedback on helping to improve what we're doing here, so please provide in comments and questions so we can make this podcast even more helpful for you.